Camera in the right. Hey, welcome back. I'm Marcus. I'm in the booth here with Graham.
And we're about to start round 4 of the Legacy.
The Legacy here at General Games. First, we're going to go over the standings, talk about a little bit about the meta breakdown, what we've got here today. So, just while our producer grabs up the standings there, we'll have a quick rundown, I guess, of the decks that we're seeing in the room.
That sounds good.
So, we got 27 players, I think. 27, 28.
Pretty good for a faction event.
Yeah, great turnout. Obviously, really good prize for first, so got a lot of interest. And look, the meta breakdown's pretty interesting. It's about as split as I think tournament in a long time.
That's very good to hear. We like that it's a diverse format and
that
people can play whatever they want.
Yeah, so it's like essentially it's about 2 of every deck in the format currently.
Wow, okay.
Well, here's the standings first. So currently X2, so 2 losses, you should have a chance at making it.
It's a small chance, and you want to be up the top if you're going to be trying to take that risk.
Yeah, so 1 loss and above is a guarantee, top 8. X2, you have a chance based on your breakers.
So at the moment, Jack Jiggins, James O'Brien, and Michael Webb are all going to be wanting to try and
just
leverage that and possibly just win and then ID in, whereas the players on the 6 bracket need to...
Yeah, so we've got some surprisingly fair decks at the top at the moment. So we've got, so Jack Jiggins is on...
D&T?
Yeah, Death and Taxes.
James O'Brien is going to be on 4-color Loam, and then Michael Webb is not playing quite as fair, and he is playing Storm. Actually, I think James O'Brien, according to this, is actually on Abzan Maverick. It's pretty much the same deck. So it's a Chalice deck. It's got colours. It's just not playing the Punishing Fire.
Yeah, package. Okay. So it's still a Loam deck. Yeah. Yes. Okay, fair enough. And then below that, obviously we get down to the X1s, and look, they're looking to win out. They just want to not lose a game, basically.
That's right.
So we'll be going to round 3, obviously. Not sure yet exactly what match we'll have on feature. We'll be hearing that soon. And yes, I mean, great tournament, obviously, so far.
Absolutely.
Had a couple of short matches, but anyway, we'll be jumping straight into round 3 here.
And let's see who we've got on screen.
Round 4 rather. And a bit of surprise to us. We'll see who's actually on the stream table. Thanks, guys. So here we are. We have Jeremy Kajfes versus Michael Milton. Now this is an interesting matchup.
Michael Milton is playing 12 post. It's a budget build of the deck because a lot of the more expensive blue cards aren't in it. So this is mono green, and it also doesn't have any candelabra. So it's very much just relying on ramping out big spells with his cloud posts.
Yes.
And he's got some some explore as mana accelerants. To try and get him there early, along with some crop rotations. Whereas Jeremy Kajfes is playing what we refer to as the Honda Civic of the format, the very reliable Grixis Delver, and that should just be a very stock list.
Creatures, spells, stuff.
So Jeremy's plan at the moment, he's not sure if he knows what he's playing against yet, but he wants to keep 12 post in the early game as much as he possibly can. So he wants to interact with any of the early spells of crop rotation and the explore and be very judicial with his wastelands to try and make sure that he doesn't get that 6, 8, 12 mana in turn 3 and 4, which the deck can sometimes do.
So interesting. This is still obviously the first game. So the match score there, it's not actually 1-1. We'll get that updated soon. But for this, so looking at mulligans, I'm pretty sure Jeremy just put 7 back and is now looking at 6. But we're looking at Michael Milton's list here. As you said, the lands, the explores.
Very interesting is he's got 4 Green Sun Zeniths into 4 Dryadabor. So that's going to actually make his mana base a little bit slower if he gets any of those in his opening hand, because they've obviously got the Summing Sickness. And it means that they might die to the bolts from Jeremy's deck as well.
But obviously giving him access to those from certain, from the spells in his deck. The certain Green Sun Zenith into a Dryad Arbor is essentially an explore, right?
Absolutely.
It's a pseudo explore.
It's 2 mana on turn 1, which no one is going to complain about.
Yep. So good start, I think. Got the map out turn 1. It's what you want to be doing, nice and mana efficient.
And that can search for any type of land, not just basic forest, which means it's going to be quite good for him. And then Jeremy is opening on an Underground Sea into a Deathrite Shaman, so immediately opening up some extra mana for himself. Yeah,
definitely. Solid start there, gives him a lot of options. Off the fetch as well, so gives him also the ramp next turn, essentially, for at least a turn.
That's right.
Looks like he's looking at another fetch, a Ponder, a Wasteland. Is that a Delver and a Deathrite? No, sorry, Delver and I think a Young Pyromancer?
Young Pyromancer. Now, he's played Pithing Needle. Ooh. If it's anything like the regular deck, that's going to be a blind name on Wasteland.
Straight up?
Straight up.
Yep, okay, cool. So we'll get confirmation on that.
That's right, and the Cloud Post comes into play tapped, and he's definitely wanting to protect that from the Delver deck. So definitely naming Wasteland, just proactively defending them what the deck wants to do. So Jeremy plays out his fetch there. And it looks like he's got 3 of those Pithing Needles on the main.
Yeah, 3 main, wow. Definitely protecting itself. So Jeremy, considering his options here, what is he? Is he thinking about playing the Deathrite here? Oh, not the Deathrite, sorry, the Young Pyromancer?
I'm not sure. At the moment, I think he wants to find some way to interact with the other side of the table because he's just not really doing anything, and the Expedition map is threatening 6 mana in 2 turns' time if he gets another Cloud Post, and that means that he's got a Primeval Titan coming in. So I think he wants to lead on the Ponder and then decide what the best option, or the other option is lead on the Pyromancer and then Ponder afterwards, and that means you get the token as well. And it looks like he's going for that option.
Yeah, going for that, trying to get a little bit of board pressure going, as well as try and get some answers out of his deck. Actually, no, going purely for the board pressure.
So that's a lot of things to have on the table at once. And did he have a Brainstorm in hand?
He had a Ponder.
So he can't
set it up.
Can't set it up on the upkeep, but that's okay.
Still might get the blind flip. Regardless, even if it doesn't flip next turn, he's definitely going to be casting that Ponder, which gives him the Young Pyromancer token. So Michael on the other side of the table can't quite see his hand here, but he's considering.
He doesn't have a lot of interaction, so he's got removal in the main deck, but that's in the form of Beast Within. From what I can see, actually, they might just be in the main.
He's just got the Beast Within in the. Is it in the main?
He's got 4 Beast Within in the sideboard, but in the main deck he's got a Maze of It.
Here we go.
And he's got some Ugins, but they're a long way away.
Yeah, so he's really looking to, looking at that list, he's really looking to just run away with it. You start slowish, get a bit of mana, and then just really go to town. If you get a prime time in play, your next turn is going to be huge.
That's right, and he's already got the second Cloud Post, so they're tapping for 2 each at the moment.
Yeah, of course. So there's the blind flip. Pretty much off a great card too.
That's just what he wants to see.
Yeah, just what he wants to see. But now he has a choice now, because I believe the only other blue card in his hand. Oh no, he also has a Daze. So no, that's all right. So he can definitely Ponder and hold up the Force of Will off the Daze.
So the Daze isn't the most relevant card in this matchup because it quickly gets made invalid. But he's still got a lot of pressure on his side of the board.
Yeah, definitely. But the Daze obviously does pitch to the Force of Will, which is seemingly perfect actually here.
That's right. Or he might get really lucky, and if he drops Forest Primeval Titan, he might just lead to a blow.
Yeah, might just get the free Daze there. Presumably, I don't know. I think Michael would be playing around the Daze at this point. Like he's not going to just play into a. I think something so simple.
To some extent, you sometimes overlook it just because you are putting that much mana out on the table at once. You kind of forget the fact that maybe I will have to pay 1 more mana.
Yeah, of course. You just disregard it,
especially since you know that they're going to be coming out in the second game. You get used to ignoring it entirely, and that could cause a blunder, but it's a Delver deck, so you need to appreciate the fact that it's going to be there as well.
Sure. So it looks like we've got a Green Sun Zenith, another Pithing Needle, a Dried Arbor. Can't make out any other cards. I think that's
a Bajuka Bog.
It's a Bog. Okay, cool. So the Bog, not super relevant in this matchup.
It's not the best. It could turn off his Deathrite Shaman a little bit, but it's definitely not the most relevant card.
Not a super relevant card. It's just a land that comes in tapped. So what's the second Pithing Needle here? is he going for redundancy naming Wasteland, or is he probably just going to name the Deathrite?
I would go for the Deathrite personally.
Yep.
But there's a lot of other options. It might be redundancy. There's really not that many card choices in the Delver list, and that's on Deathrite.
Yeah, so he has named Deathrite. Yeah, I think like you might as well get it. Might as well get it while it's in play.
So a lot of Michael Milton's game plan from here, I think, is going to be trying to find some glimmer posts, and that's going to gain him some life.
Yeah, start getting the life total
get him back in the game.
Yep.
Because at the moment he's just losing a lot of life from the other side of the board.
Yep. So our main camera there seems to be having some issues. So we'll take a look at this side cams for now. From this angle, a bit hard to see everything, but you can see on the other side of the table there, we've got a flip Deathrite, a young Pyromancer with 2 tokens, a Deathrite Shaman. Look, and yeah, so we're just going to have to bounce back and forth between these 2 angles, which is a bit unfortunate, but it's all right. We will make do.
And we've got just the 2 goblins at the moment. So
that is a Gitaxian Probe being resolved. Sees the bog, sees... can't quite...
Seems like it's another Green Sun Zenith.
Yeah, another Zenith. So another token from the Gitaxian Probe. This is where Jeremy wants to be. He's got board pressure. He's got a counterspell in hand.
It's about 8 power worth of damage on his side of the field if he keeps attacking with everything. He is holding up the young Pyromancer because his opponent's got the Dryad and he doesn't want to lose that.
Doesn't need to swing into that.
It might be something that he actually wants to try and deal with at some point, just because I would say the reason that that's being played and searched out off the Green Sun Zenith is possibly so he can play a Primeval Titan or something similar.
Yeah, definitely.
He seems to be a little light on the green mana at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, so swinging in there with the young Pyromancer is sort of would be asking Michael whether or not how much he wants that Dryad Arbor. But I think Jeremy, at this point, I mean, from that turn alone, he got 3, was able to get 3 more tokens in place. So there's no point really throwing it away yet. Or even offering it yet.
And looks like Michael's list is also forgoing a few of the lands like Glacial Chasm or Tabernacle, which can sometimes put some more pressure on the other side of the board from the Delver.
Yeah, for sure.
Trying to keep their creatures on the board.
Yep. So there's a... What's that land at the top there?
Bajuka Bog?
Oh, no, sorry. No, is that the new Emrakul? No, so there's a...
So there's one of each Emrakul, the Aeon's Torrent. Oh, sorry.
What's he got in hand? I'm trying to work out. That's Ulamog, I think.
So he's got both Eldrazi, Emrakul and Ulamog. He's got Green Sun Zenith, Bajuka Bog, and the last Pithing Needle.
Yeah, okay. So I've seen all 3 Pithing Needles.
And I would say you would want to get rid of the Pithing Needle and rid of the Bajuka Bog.
Yep.
And just leaves those other 3 options in hand. On the other hand, he doesn't have any way to cast those Eldrazi at the moment.
Yeah,
so he's really just looking for any form of mana, which... he's not going to see because he's now just Brainstorm locked for the next 2 turns.
Yep. So on the other side of the table, we've got...
not Brainstorm locked, sorry, he's not brainstorming.
No. So on the other side of the table, we're looking at a Wasteland, a Brainstorm, a Daze, and a Force of Will, which is a nice group to have in the current situation. You've got a strong board state and you've got a strong hand.
So we're getting another Dryad Arbor, and then it looks like we're shuffling in the Green Sun Zenith.
Yep, so shuffles in. Michael, in a bit of a tricky situation here, looking at a lot of power on board. He doesn't have the mana to get out something big that would answer it. And I don't think he has, if looking at his list, he doesn't really have a spell that's going to just help him out immediately. So he just needs to stall.
And get those glimmer posts somehow.
Yep. So back with our main view here. Our camera seems to be behaving again. That's a lot of tokens.
That is a lot of tokens on that side of the board.
Interesting that he's chosen to use goblins as young Pyromancer does not make...
he's scooping it up.
Yeah, that's scooping it up. He's got nothing there. Bit of a slow draw there, unfortunately. Obviously, seeing all 3 Pithing Needles in that matchup, one is great. 3...
Not so much. And he just didn't seem to draw anything which could put him into the game.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing.
It was all the reactive cards rather than the proactive game and what the deck wants to do.
Yeah, this deck really wants to, as we said before, you really want to be fast. Or you're either super fast or draw enough stuff that your opponent can't get you.
Yeah,
once you
set up the pillow fort. As
exactly.
Say. Yeah, and then Jeremy's deck just did what it was meant to do. Yep. It's a traditional Delver plan of play an early creature and protect it and 100%. See what happens.
Oh, Yep, early Delver, early Pyro, young Pyromancer, and then the spells to back it up and the spells to feed the token engine.
Definitely. So we'll start off with the Grixis Delver list and have a look at where it's going with the sideboard plan. So we've got 2 Ancient Grudge, 2 Cabal Therapy, a Diabolic Edict, Dread of Night, Electro Trickery, Flusterstorm, Fogged Bolt, Grafdigger's Cage, a Pithing Needle, Red Elemental Blast, 2 Surgicals, and a Grafdigger's Cage.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely some power to the plan of wastelanding a Cloud Post and setting up the Surgical on it and just destroying the big mana ramp that he does have.
Yep.
Pithing Needle's quite good. There's a lot of targets on the other side of the board.
Do you consider the Dread of Night here to take out the Dryad Arbors?
The Dread of Night only hits white creatures, so that would not be the best card in this situation.
Not at all. They are very much not white.
The Diabolic Edict is made weak, even though Jeremy did just put it into his deck, and that's just because he's got the Dryadabors on the other side of the board, so he's not always going to be able to hit the big creature, especially if you can do the secret fetch into them.
Yep, sure.
Cabal Therapy will probably be good. And as I said, Pithing Needle on Ayavugan is a very good card as well.
Yep.
But once again, it's just a question of trying to keep him in the early side of the board.
Sure.
In the audience side of the game, and I think you just take out the 4 Dazes.
Yeah, they're doing nothing in this matchup.
Stifle's a little bit weak, but it also has some very good things that it can hit, especially if you can get it to hit the Primeval Titan trigger and stop
definitely.
that round.
I mean, if you do miss out on, as you say, keeping him in the early game and it does get a little out of hand, the Stifle's a bit of a fallback there. Like, you might not be able to counter it, but you can definitely stop them getting the full benefit of it.
And the Emrakul triggers, either one of them being cast, you don't want to see them, but you can also stop the Annihilator trigger or the Take Next Return trigger.
We'll take a look at Michael's sideboard here. So his is a little bit more like quite a few more, like obviously 2 4-ofs and a 2-off. So he's got the Beast Within, the Bajuka Bog, Glacial Chasm, Pithing Needle, Ratchet Bomb, Reclamation Sage, and 4 Spheres of Resistance. Now, what are you thinking he's bringing in here? So
Glacial Chasm is one of the best cards in this matchup. You need to make sure you've got the Pithing Needle down so that you can protect it from Wasteland, but then it makes his damage relevant for several turns. It doesn't look like he's playing Life from the Loam, so he doesn't have the recursion package, which you sometimes do, but that's still quite reasonable. But I would bring in Glacial Chasm, Pithing Needle, and then maybe some Ratchet Bombs because that can hit the 1 and 2 drops from the other side of the table. Yep.
So looks like they've both players have already drawn their opening 7, and it looks like Michael's putting back his 7. Going to take a look at 6.
That's right.
Jeremy, on the other hand, looks like he might be keeping his 7. So I mean, realistically, did the post deck really need to win game 1 there to have a good chance at this matchup, or are they still okay to play from the board?
It definitely has some game from the board, and it probably is a matchup that was going to improve in the second and third games.
So it does get better for 12 post here.
It does. Just really depends on if Jeremy decides to go for that surgical plan. It will completely remove him from the plan. From the game, I should say.
Yeah, just turns him off. It is a bit of a long shot though. Obviously, you've got to hit it.
There's only 2 in the deck, but you've got those 8 draw spells, Ponder and Brainstorm.
You've got a good chance of hitting it. So Michael looking at his 6 scries to the bottom, so he's obviously keeping that one.
That's right. So
opens up with a forest. We've seen this one before. So opens up with the forest expedition map.
No, there we go. We've got a fetch sound. So I was going to say that you weren't able to cast that Ancient Grudge until we got the Death Right down, but it looks like we've managed to work around that.
Yep, so Death Right down. He's got 2 Stifles. Is that 2 Stifles?
That's 2 Stifles.
2 Stifles.
I almost would have been tempted to hold it up just to deal with that expedition map, but Michael might be doing that end of turn as well, so he might get lucky as well.
Yeah, exactly. So he's got the Brainstorm, got the Pyromancer, got a Fetch.
That's not a Pyromancer, that's actually an Ancient Grudge.
That's the Ancient Grudge, yes, you're correct, sorry.
So that's got the Pithing Needle that it can hit, so he's going to turn his Wastelands back on, and he's obviously has the ability to do it twice, and he might just fire it off on this expedition map as well.
Yeah, exactly. Just before Michael has the opportunity, if he doesn't use it, so there we go. That's the sphere of resistance hitting play.
He has opted for that, so
new
that
target
means that it's definitely a new target. It's something. Well, that's a force a turn late. Would have liked to see that earlier.
Yeah, of course.
I think you just slow play this here because the Ancient Grudge is obviously an instant, and the Stifle is probably going to be one of your better plays on his turn once he fires it off as well.
So, all right. So,
with the exception of the crop rotation, Michael Milton is, for the most part, going to be operating on sorcery speed here.
Yep.
So it means that Jeremy doesn't need to worry too much about what's happening on the other side of the board. And he's going for the fetch into the stifle.
Yep. And that seems like a perfectly fine play. Really slows down Michael a lot here. I mean, obviously, he kept 6. A large part of keeping 6 would have been obviously having the map, and now not getting any effect from it. That's 3 mana invested into a card that you got nothing from.
Absolutely, and he's just playing another forest, so he's playing 1 mana at a time, which is never what the deck wants to be doing.
No, so he's playing a slow mono green deck at this point with has had basically no ramp. Not where you want to be. But on the other side of the table, Jeremy feeling quite strong here. Not as much opening pressure as he had previously. Playing a bit more of the control aspect of the Grixis Delver deck.
Right, really bringing the tempo to it, and I think that Ancient Grudge has the potential to be a blowout on the next turn.
Yeah, definitely. So sitting on that. So looking like Michael's sitting on a Cloud Post, a map,
a Sylvan Scrying, and a Primeval Titan.
Yep. So like Michael's really wants to get that prime time into play. Not sure it's going to happen though. That's a pretty good grip that Jeremy's got there.
And it looks like we're...
He's just going to fire off the Ancient Grudge?
Going to fire off the Ancient Grudge, and then he's probably going to force a will that, I believe.
Yep. Seems fine. Yep, considered. Yep. Force of will, probably pitching the Gitaxian Probe. Yep, pitches a Gitaxian Probe.
And that puts him in... he doesn't have a lot of pressure in his hand from what I can see. He's got Spell Pierce, Brainstorm, and a Stifle. So he's hopefully wanting to find some pressure off the Brainstorm, because at the moment he's relying very heavily on that Deathrite Shaman to do so. And he's just seen a Delver, so that's quite good for him.
Yep.
And I can imagine that he might be holding back the Deathrite. Well, you obviously would anyway, because you've got the ability to shock him for 2, but otherwise it's his only source of green mana that he can see at the moment for that Ancient Gun in his graveyard. If something else comes by, then he needs to deal with.
Yep.
And he chooses just to attack with it anyway.
Yep, swings in. Got to get some pressure on the board, I guess. Start a clock.
I feel I may have wanted to just held up the Underground Sea and cast the Delver off the Volcanic instead, but maybe he wants to represent Lightning Bolt or something similar.
Yeah, represent something. Interesting. So Michael here got another map.
He's going to see Stifle for a second time this game.
Yeah, he's going to... That can't
feel good.
That's unfortunate. That's very unfortunate, because so the map resolves there and you have a very good chance of playing prime time the next turn. So that's a Ponder flipping the Delver.
And swinging in for 3.
And the clock begins. I mean, granted... It's unlikely the prime time would have resolved. I believe Jeremy would have still had a counter up, but actually, no, he wouldn't have. He would have been out of counters here.
That is a Diabolic Edict, a Wasteland, and I believe a Gitaxian Probe he sees there. Decides to take the Wasteland and leave the other 2 on top.
Wasteland's the Cloud Post here. Yeah, look, Grixis Delver's dismantling the 12 post deck here quite systematically. I mean, granted, Michael's still doing okay. Like he's managed to not be completely shut off by the control aspect of the deck. Not in a good spot, but definitely not dead yet.
No, so he's got 4 more turns or thereabouts based on what the current board is.
Yep.
But it's not looking good for him at the moment unless he can get some fast mana.
No, definitely needs to get it. Definitely needs to get some mana into play. Takes a look at double prime time. So Jeremy's got to feel pretty good about that.
That's good. The interesting thing about that is if he gets a Glimmer Post, he can just straight up cast that.
Yeah, you can cast one and then the game accelerates quite quickly. Doesn't hit that, hits the...
Vesuva, copying the Cloud Post.
So next turn he has it?
Next turn he has 7 mana, and that's something that Jeremy is definitely going to be looking at. He doesn't actually have a relevant counter spell for that at the moment, so that could swing the game back into Michael's favour and start doing some big things from his side.
For sure. All right, so pulls a...
pretty opportune Force of Will.
Force of Will off the top, which is a good catch-all in this situation. Has the Spell Pierce to pitch to it as well.
And then he's just got the Edict in case for the second one, but it means that he's going to be a little bit behind. I think that Michael... Oh, sorry, continue.
Sorry, I was about to say, I think he's forced here to have to do something about the Green Sun Zenith. So choosing to Spell Pierce that, meaning that there's a good chance that Michael's going to be able to resolve a prime time next turn.
That's right, and I think if he goes and gets a Cloud Post and an Eye of Ugin, that he can just slam an Eldrazi the turn after.
Yep.
And taking him down 2 more, he's on 1 life, is that right?
Yep, that's it. He's just dead. It was too slow. Well, that was a relatively surprisingly quick match, I think, between those decks. I mean, the 12 post could get into a situation where the life total becomes
more relevant.
Yeah, way more relevant.
It just didn't in this case, and Delver always has that ability of just being able to take control of a game very early on and apply pressure.
Which it did. That was a very good demonstration of
the classic Delver plan.
Classic Delver plan. In both situations, both the control aspect and the board pressure aspect, tempo, played well, was rewarded.
Absolutely.
Anyways, so sorry for the few technical difficulties we had there. We'll endeavour to have them completely resolved by the next round. So we'll be going to round 5 after this.
And that's going to be the final round before we finish, I believe.
Well, with a cut. So we'll be cutting to top 8.
With top 8.
So see you in the next round. Thanks, guys.
Good to shake the mind.